I will forever have a soft spot for the Galaxy Flip. It's the device that made me believe that foldables could indeed be a viable path forward for the smartphone industry. Respect to the Fold for the tough path it blazed to become the first commercially viable entry, but the Flip flipped the script, as it were, demonstrating that foldables need not be bulky nor prohibitively expensive. It's the kind of device that makes one lament the fact that we abandoned the clamshell as a society. It's a nice-looking device that snaps shut and sits comfortably in your pocket. The form factor, like everything in consumer electronics, is a trade-off. The Fold is built around the concept of carrying a tablet around in your pocket, opening up to reveal a 7.6-inch display. At 6.7 inches, the Flip's main display is well within the acceptable phablet realm. In fact, it's actually 0.1 inches smaller than the Galaxy S23 Ultra, but it's infinitely more portable than both. This particular design does, however, come with the caveat of a 22:9 aspect ratio. You're just not going to get something more standardized without making the device substantially wider. It's generally not an issue, so long as you're cool dealing with some pillar boxing when watching videos. With a bit of distance, it always dawns on me how silly it is to call a $1,000 phone affordable. It's a lot of money for most of us, and prior to the iPhone X's debut, the notion of dipping into 4 digits for a handset was downright absurd. That, of course, was years before the Galaxy Fold arrived at a hair under $2,000. Scaling has brought the price down a bit, but the latest version will still run you $1,800. That's a hard pill to swallow in a world where economic headwinds have hampered already slowing global smartphone sales. Every day people have trouble stomaching the idea of paying half that for a phone. Components are to blame. More sales equals more production equals a lower per unit price, so there's a decent chance they'll continue to lower in price, especially as the company supplies screens to the competition. For me, the Flip takes yet another step ahead of the Fold as Samsung addresses the line's biggest, smallest shortcoming. When the product launched in the now hazy liminal zone known as February 2020, it arrived with a 1.1-inch external display. The Fold 2 had a fairly limited front screen that had eventually increased to something nearly edge-to-edge, but there was always at least enough space to do something of use. The original Fold's was little more than a glorified calculator screen. The Flip 5, on the other hand, takes a relatively big step forward with a 3.4-inch screen. That might not sound like a lot, because it isn't, but we've finally entered the realm of usability. Keep in mind, when I use the U word here, I'm not suggesting it can replace the primary screen in any sort of meaningful way. Both the Flip and Fold's external screen real estate is hindered by the limitation of their hardware footprint, and making the Fold any larger stretches the bounds of its portability claim. The new larger screen is, in effect, a widget machine. Tap the screen and you get a simple monochromatic presentation of basic information, the time, date, and number of unread notifications. Hit the power button and it fully turns on to display your lock screen wallpaper. Swipe through and you get widgets. There are currently a dozen selections, including basics like calendar, weather, alarm, and fitness. Hopefully, if Samsung continues to sell enough of these things, we'll see more interesting and innovative uses for the display. I don't get the idea of a simple game to pass the time. Heck, Google's had that offline dinosaur side scroller for nearly a decade. You can also use the screen for selfies when closed, probably some of the best ones you've taken, given that these are main cameras. That image is portrait mode by default. Swiping right toggles between a standard image and video. The new display isn't exactly edge-to-edge, and it's a bit of an odd shape owing to a cutout for the cameras, but it's hard to imagine a small size increase adding much more functionality. One anticipates that a full external display is coming in a generation or two, but this is one place where the new Motorola Razr absolutely has the Flip beat. The 3.6-inch Moto screen only beats the Flip by 0.2 of an inch, but the true edge-to-edge looks significantly better, owing to the 1056 by 1066 res to Samsung's 720 by 748. There is, of course, infinitely more to be done with that 6.7-inch 2640 by 1080 primary screen. The screen looks great and the colors pop. In fact, sometimes the colors are so intense the images you shoot on the camera have a tendency not to look as good when you view them elsewhere. The primary display is effectively the same as last year. I've always appreciated how the form factor allows you to bend it into an L shape for image capture, with the phone effectively serving as its own stand. At a 45-degree angle, meanwhile, the screen can be propped on its side for video watching. This is what made me appreciate the form factor in the first place, taking a long walk, stopping for dinner, and pulling the phone out to watch a baseball game. Delightful. But the two biggest issues with it are the aforementioned awkward aspect ratio and the crease. The best crease is no crease at all. I suspect that at some point display designers will crack the crease, but for now, we're stuck with it. However, the thing foldable enthusiasts tell you is true. You mostly don't notice it after a while. Granted, you can feel it when you swipe up, and you'll definitely see it when the light hits it right, but it doesn't really inhibit your day-to-day usage. One other thing bears mentioning on the screen front, something to look out for, really. Both the Fold and Flip 5 sport the new Flex hinge, which virtually eliminates the gap between the screen when closed. That's nice from an aesthetic standpoint and also makes for a thinner device when folded, reducing it from 0.67 to 0.59 inches. When it comes to carrying it around in your pocket, fractions of an inch do indeed count. Google also prized the thinness its proprietary hinge affords the Pixel Fold, but ultimately that device has run into reports of display issues. Beyond screen size and form factor, the camera array is the biggest distinguishing factor between the two devices. The Flip features a 2-camera array. It's the same hardware as the Flip 4, with any real improvement arriving by way of the new chipset's image signal processing. Most mobile photography is computational these days, and that's going to be increasingly the case. Samsung's camera software has also become extremely robust and good. I'm happy with the outdoor images I shot, though the camera struggled a bit when I shot photos. Admittedly, the dark, mixed color palette and distance are an especially challenging combination. Paying $1,000 should get you access to Samsung's best camera array, though this is a key place where it can distinguish the Flip from the $1,800 Fold. The Flip 5 is plenty of camera for most situations, though things like optical zoom make a big difference, one that's plain as day when switching between the two as I've been doing the past week. Both systems sport the same Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 platform for Galaxy found on this year's Galaxy S23. The name is a mouthful, but it's effectively a version of Qualcomm's 2023 flagship tweak for Samsung devices. The chip delivers some slight performance enhancements over the vanilla same Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, but not really anything you pick up on day to day. The biggest advantages are the imaging improvements and power optimization that squeezes a bit more life out of the 3,700 mAh battery. The actual battery size is the same as what you'll find on the Flip 4, but you'll get a bit more life here. You should get through a full day without issue. I wouldn't push it any further than that. While the body is long, the battery has to be segmented to accommodate the Fold. That means that while the screen is roughly the same size as, say, the Galaxy S23 Ultra, the combined batteries are significantly less than its 5,000 mAh cell. The system features the same IPX8 water resistance rating as its predecessor. There's still no dust rating, likely owing to the inclusion of a hinge. It's safe to say the Flip 5 doesn't offer a huge upgrade from its predecessor. In fact, you probably don't need to trade up if you bought any of the last few Flips. The larger external screen is a nice addition, though its impact is lessened by the Motorola Razr Plus. That really gets to the heart of Samsung's current foldables positioning. The company effectively created the category and it's continued to dominate market share, but suddenly things are a lot more competitive. The Flip continues to be one of my favorite foldables, and no one can blame the company for largely sticking to its guns here, but remaining competitive in the future may require a renewed look at the emerging landscape. So that's all for today. If you enjoyed the video, then a sub to the channel will be massive, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See you for the next time. Peace out.